It this way. I mean, what, back-to-back 10-win seasons? Like, I don't see it. I don't see it crumbling anytime soon. So I think Florida's in a rough spot. I'm pretty dubious about where Florida and South Carolina are going the next couple of years, but I could be wrong.
I can't put Florida in the same conversation with South Carolina, though. It's like South Carolina, I know they had the co-SEC Coach of the Year last year, but they've been at the bottom of the SEC East for a while now. So like the Spurrier years are really more of like an aberration for South Carolina than like Florida. Florida's been with multiple coaches have had them be a contender. Not a lot of coaches, but they have had multiple coaches that they've had top 10 teams with. So Florida, the talent they get, the way they recruit. South Carolina, it takes a perfect storm for them to be back contending for the East. Like Florida, it's going to be much easier, I think, for Florida than South Carolina.
But more than anything, we all agree that Tennessee football is back. Speaking of Kentucky, they played their style and they beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State only had 22 rushing yards in the loss. Will Levis didn't have to do anything in this one, and they still won. Chris Rodriguez almost rushes for 200 yards.
And Will Levis left this game, I think, at the end of the third.
So there's something to monitor when Will Levis and the Cats come to Knoxville in 2 weeks. So we'll see what that looks like. But look, Kentucky deserves credit. Bounce back. They win against a top 20, I think, Mississippi State team in the country. I think even with the loss, Mississippi State's still one of the better programs, not just in the SEC, but nationwide. And they played their ball, and they played bully ball, and they won. And they answered some questions with their running game because they have not been able to run the ball to this point in the year. A lot of that with the offensive line issues. And Mississippi State, stout run defense, stout defense as a whole. And Zach Arnett's bunch got bullied by Rich Gangarello and the Wildcats. What did you make of Kentucky's win?
Yeah, like we talked about this one before. I think this one, more than even giving Kentucky credit, because as much as this is who their identity is, like they have just not done it well all year. So it was hard. It was hard to predict they were going to do it. I feel like we were more predicting that Mississippi State would lay an egg in this one, and it's Mike Leach's teams are like good for a few of these. They can beat anybody and they can lose to anybody, and you just didn't see them show up. Like I know that they're air raid and they're not built on running the football, but I mean having 12 rushing yards, it's like you got to keep defenses honest somehow. And I'm thinking if they have 12 rushing yards, then Will Levis has to have like 65 pass attempts, and this guy was 25 of 37. Like they just couldn't stay on the field. Kentucky was on time of possession almost 40-20 in this game. Like had the ball almost twice as long as Mississippi State did. Chris Rodriguez just makes such a huge difference in this Kentucky team. He's a workhorse. He's Benny Snell-esque for sure for Kentucky, and this is a big time win for Kentucky. I hope Levis isn't seriously injured. That Tennessee game in a few weeks, could be an interesting one. Definitely a contrasting styles, but I definitely don't think they have the offense to hang with Tennessee. But they do pound the rock. So if they're able to run the ball like this moving forward, I mean, they could win a lot more games. We haven't seen this really from Kentucky basically all year.
Absolutely. What else we got? Clemson, they take care of Florida State. Will Shipley is this engine that keeps